Joining us now with more about the recent ongoing protests, we have Likud Knesset member Yi Golan. Yi, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Now, I want to start with a question really about these protests directly. Recently, a picture of the protests with a PLO flag being waved in the crowds has been shared. Prime Minister Netanyahu shared it, and he condemned the image. He also criticized former Prime Minister Ehud Barak for allegedly, organizing and orchestrating some of these protests.
And funding it.
And Barak has said, that this is fake news. But to me, this is kind of a red herring in and of itself. It seems to me that or rather, what is the government doing to respond to the protests and not, little things like a flag being in the crowd?
As a part of this government, I want to tell you that if those protesters were crying out of real pain and real, problems, I would have been there, down there, talking to them, looking to them in the eyes, telling them what this government is doing day and night, night and day. But the problem is a different problem. The problem is that there are a really horrible minority that is taking this real pain that some of the people of Israel have and taking it to a radical left extreme. And when I'm saying that is when you compare your prime minister to Hitler, when you put a PLO flag instead of an Israeli flag, when you call him a crime minister instead of a prime minister, when you threaten the life of the prime minister, his wife, his children, when you try to destroy his house, this is not a corona protest. This is not, an independent / young / people who suffer protest. I know this kind of protest. I've been protesting for the last decade before I went into the government. So I know to recognize when people are really suffering and coming to protest against it. But when you take this horrible state that Israel is in, by the way, the entire world is in this state, in an economic horrible situation, health situation that this world hasn't recognized for the last 100 years. When you take these problems that this country is trying to do everything to deal with and take it into a radical extreme situation against the minister, the prime minister, and against this government, this is not a real protest. And unfortunately, I'm saying, I don't want to...
Well, I think that we can agree that, as you said, that there are a lot of different factions making up these protests. There are people with different interests. There are those who are against the alleged probes.
I'll just add another sentence. Just because of the slight chance that there are real protesters there, I don't want to say it about everyone. But when we see these pictures, these horrible pictures of people, putting, I don't want to say this horrible sentence, but really ignoring in a bad way about the coronavirus limitation, not putting masks, attacking officers. They threw pepper spray on officers, broke his leg.
But I want to stay on message because, again, I agree with you. I don't condone that sort of violent behavior, and I think that ultimately takes away from the message that the protesters might have, regardless of what it is that the protests are originally about. But that being said, if we get back to what some of the charges or the demands or the grievances that the protesters are expressing, let's talk about that. So right now, one of the bigger things, for example, is payment, right? And some sort of financial solvency or stability for the people. Right now, the government is pushing a 750 shekel for every adult without a child.
That's the minimum.
That's the minimum.
Yeah.
But it's not targeted either, and that's one of the major criticisms.
It's about to change,
And that's about to change. So, I mean, is that really enough to to make a big difference in the lives of people who may have not been working now for 4 months?
Okay, so let's put things in perspective. First of all, when this coronavirus came upon the world 3 months ago and upon Israel, no one knew how to deal with it. I can tell you that the social system, the social security system, wasn't able to send so much money to so many people on the same amount of time. Things take time. I know people suffer. I know it's hard, but people have to be patient. And I tell you, let's put the prime minister on the side. I can tell you, and I can testify from firsthand, seeing the members of the Knesset and the ministers, people are staying in the Knesset day and night in order to push forward a plan that will be vital and will be long-term until 2021 that will help all quartiers of people that need help in this situation. I do think that it's not right to give money to everyone. I think it should be different. I think it should be, but the reason that the Prime Minister did that is in order to avoid bureaucracy and avoid prolonging the time that we still need to have to give the money to the people. So I will end with that I know that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance are working all day today to just make the plan in order that the people that really need money will get it. And let me make a promise here from this studio. There won't be a person in the state of Israel that will lack money to survive and to live in order for us to overcome this horrible damn virus.
All right, Mai Golan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now with demonstration.